So we go to Dave Olson. And I'm sorry about that, Craig. So Dave says, we know the conservatives are quick to be vilified from doing those things which are prerequisites for being a liberal. During your bachelor years as a pundit, do you suspect that someone ever tried to get you set up in a honey trap or other kind of compromising situation? Honey trap is where they send somebody, some cute-looking woman, and if they're really clever, they know exactly what your preferences are, and they know what you're going to fall for. And then the idea being that basically they send somebody your way to be your girlfriend, and the person's a spy. That's all they are. And they're trying to get you to the point where you'll lower your defenses and say what you really believe. And then people, especially when that's recorded, then they'll have you. And the answer to that, Dave, is it has occasionally occurred to me, but I never thought of it as a serious risk or a serious possibility, because number one, I don't think I'm that important. But much more importantly than that, I think I'm immune to those kind of traps. And I'm not immune to them because I'm immune to good-looking young women. I'm immune to them now, but I wasn't then. What I'm immune to, I think, which would make this whole thing an exercise in futility for the people that wanted to go to that kind of trouble, what I think I'm immune to is high-level hypocrisy. In other words, if somebody were to steer somebody my way and having them posing as a romantic interest try to get me to lower my guard, certainly they could do that. There's no question about it. But when I lower my guard, I say what I really mean. And I'm one of those people, fortunately, who says what he really means all the time. I've said many times, the best thing about being a conservative is I get to say one thing and do the same thing. So there's not going to be a moment where they're going to get me on tape saying the things that they think I say. It's just never it's not going to happen because I don't believe them. And this is why the left is the left. They like these kind of ideas. And they'll always say, well, he doesn't really believe it. He's just saying that for cover, He's, oh, well, there's all this talk about Booker T. Washington and how well the black students did. That's just to cover his racism. And I start to ask myself, at what point does this become absurd? In other words, let's say you're an Archie Bunker, worse than that, you're David Duke, okay? You're a stone cold KKK, Aryan Nation skinhead, racist. Okay, that's what you are. Now, how far are you going to go to cover that? My experience with these people is that they don't try to cover it at all. They're very proud of it. But does this mean that this guy would let his daughter marry to a black man and then have a black grandchild and then put that grandchild through school and college and change his diapers and take him for the weekend and teach him how to play ball? How much cover is there before you realize it's not cover at all? It's just absurd. It's ridiculous. But since their entire lives are based on saying things that they don't believe, in fact, they're saying the things the opposite of what they believe in order to get political power, they worry about these things, which is why all of these undercover things are always stings on the left. I've never seen one on the right. I've never, ever seen any, which tells me, by the way, it's an interesting point here, Dave. You haven't seen behind the scenes footage of Rush Limbaugh or Ben Shapiro or anything like that contradicting themselves. But the thing that the second realized is, it doesn't mean they haven't tried. I think they've tried, and I think they found, no, we got nothing here. And you would think that would be enough for them to realize that they're evil, horrible, nasty bastards who are inventing evil in other people, and when they don't have any evidence of it, they'll manufacture evidence for it. But the short answer to your question is, I don't worry about any attempts to get past my defenses, because my defense is to not have a defense. That's my defense. My It's not just a defense, it's immunity. I say what's on my mind all the time. I believe I think these positions are not only morally sound, I think they're morally triumphant. And if it ever is pointed out to me by somebody with a different experience that something I'm saying or doing is just plain wrong or offensive for reasons other than being the truth, then I will adjust my position. But I'm not worried about that. They're not going to get anything on me not because they can't get to the real me, but really because the real me is pretty much exactly like the me that you guys know. Moving on.